me.
You're welcome.
Recording in progress. Today is June 14th, and we will be talking a little bit about video with Aid and Chip. Neither of the two have had time or direction to fully prepare, so we're just going to try to answer some questions that I've accumulated, mostly from Brian Holdsworth. I don't know if he's with us today or not, but he'll watch the recording. And it is also going to talk about the USB work that she's been doing, multiple devices on one USB. And then Stephen, your topic will come after Chip. So it'll go like Ada, Chip, and Stephen. And Stephen, what's your topic?
Mine is the latest additions to Visual Studio Code extension.
Awesome. Okay. So the latest additions to Visual Studio Code. So anybody watching the intro on YouTube, if that's of interest to you, you'll be able to jump forward to it. Okay. So while a few more people come in and get their seats, does anybody want to see the project I've been working on?
Sure.
Okay. Under duress. Thank you, Chip. It's not a Propeller project, but it will be in the future. I think everybody knows this is our busy time of year for educational events. And so we go to conferences. We're doing like 6 of them this summer, all over the place: Seattle, North Dakota, Arizona, Utah, places where we have big institutional followings for this particular product, which is the Cyberbot robot. And you'll recognize the chassis because we've made over 1 million of these through the years. It's been used on our Boe-Bot, the Activity Bot with Propeller, the Shield Bot with Arduino, and most recently the Cyberbot. This is a very popular kit. So for these events, I TIG welded up a monster chassis. I think most of you have maybe seen this on our social media, because I started this before COVID, before all that. And then we stopped going places, and then I just kind of put it away for a long time. But it was a TIG welding project, and it came out really, really nice. So I made 2 of these. And finally, this last week, Andy and Stephanie and I and Michael, about a month ago, really got our brains together and said, let's get this thing done. Let's make this big robot for these events. Because being a marketing person, the best marketing is when other people are taking pictures of your stuff and sharing it. And I thought this would achieve that. So here we are. And Andy did the programming yesterday. And I made the breadboard, and Stephanie's really good at all kinds of artwork. So she got together all the pieces and material, and we went to the Rockler woodworking store and bought a bunch of stuff. And this is kind of where we are now. And it's a fully functional Cyberbot. It weighs like 45 or 50 pounds.
Man. Probably, you might have been able to take some simplified approach to all those connector pins.
You think?
Yeah, I think a block of wood with just those patterns on it would have been.
Probably so, but you know how it is when you work with others. Everyone has their job, and I can't micromanage it. So
Right.
we all do our own. I could show you a video of it running if you'd like to see that now.
Yes.
You can see it. Okay. Someone's got some messy audio, so I'll just kind of mute you and you can bring yourself back. Okay, let me do a reshare here. Let's see here. And I don't know if the audio is going to transfer through. Maybe I'll just give you a quick clip, and I know somewhere in Zoom there's a setting to send the audio through, but
It was on the shared dialogue itself.
oh, it is? Okay. So on the shared dialogue.
Yep.
So I got to share.
Also, video through screen share it just doesn't work.
It's not awful.
You should see a share with
Okay, I found it. All right, so this is kind of where we are at the moment. Here's a progress report. Got most of the mechanical and electronics working now, so that they're all hidden under this breadboard. So we're just kind of remove the header strips right now. And underneath, there's everything. Got a microbit, Cyberbot board, couple HB25s, and logic. power. Replace the breadboard. And that's where we are right now.
Cool.
This breadboard is pretty cool, yeah. Dedication. Ken, that's dedication. I like it.
I drilled 170 holes. They gave me the real monkey job. So pretty neat. We just have to now plug in the microbit and then we're good to go. And some things didn't quite scale. I mean, everything scaled actually near perfectly. I'll show you a few details that are really, really funny. Specifically, the standoffs normally on a Boe-Bot are 1 inch by 1/4 inch outer diameter. These are 5 inches by 1.25 inches. And the screws, which are normally 440, they scale up to 1/2 by 13. They're absolute monsters. And then, yeah, it's crazy. So they don't just thread into whatever we drilled and tapped. You kind of have to use a big screwdriver to get them in. And then the servos, as we can call them, are actually the motor mount wheel kit. And the wheels were made by Chip's buddy, Doug. And let's see if I have a picture of them in manufacturing on the CNC machines in Red Bluff. I don't think I showed those. But anyway, they're made on a Haas CNC and they're made out of Delrin, and they are the exact replica, and they're 12 inches in diameter.
Scale, that's crazy.
So
How much-
tomorrow I'll get to, yep. Questions on that project?
Just enjoying it.
Yeah, it is really, really fun diversion. Took a lot of time and effort. People want to buy them, no way.
Make small thing big is very
Yeah,
good.
it's difficult to scale up because like the imperfections and kind of things that maybe look good don't really look good when they're really big. It seems to be a little bit nicer to make micro versions of everything, but whatever.
Did you brush the chassis? It looks like it has the same brush pattern as the Boe-Bot.
Yeah, I did brush it with the wire brush because it's brushed aluminum, but this is 3/8 inch thick aluminum. And it looks like it's bent. That's an illusion. That's welded, and then I ground it and sanded it.
Geez, good job.
So I
Yeah.
tried to really make it match.
How much does that whole thing weigh?
About 40, 50 pounds.
How many
So I'll let
hours
you
did
know.
it take you to, how many hours did it take you to make it?
Total number of hours, I would say, let's just say people hours are probably in the 100 zone range now, 100 hours. I don't want to know.
Wow.
Yeah, but actually what is missing still is all the wiring. Why it's driving, there's no wires on it.
So the servo wires, they're
Yeah, you
12
need
inch
to
wire.
put all those wires
Yeah.
on there.
Those are going on as we talk. So the servo wires are being installed. There's something else missing too. Oh, like the headers and the servo plugs, those are getting installed today with the hot glue gun.
I love it.
Too good.
Absolutely cool.
Is this like 5x scale or something?
It's 5X, yeah. And the circuit board is a fully functional Cyberbot PCB. It's actually, Michael just took the board and scaled it up and he ordered it and we got it in 10 days for 150 bucks.
Wow.
Yes. And I should note, there is a Propeller 1 on the bottom of this board, and there's a, normally, right, there's a Propeller 1 letting the microbit do its stuff better. And then the actual control system that's underneath the breadboard has a Propeller 1 in it too.
Too much fun.
Yeah. So keep it fun. That's important. In July, we're going to talk about programming tools and the effort we're making with Visual Studio Code with Stephen. And that leads itself to other important things that have to be resolved. And then in August, Stephen and I, he doesn't really know it, but we're going to talk about brushless motor control. Because I will have finally put all this together the way it was designed to and get to share it kind of more as a package.
Nice.
So sometimes it takes a long time to do good things, doesn't it?
And effort,
Yeah.
oddly enough.
Yeah. Still coming to grips with that, with my instant satisfaction style. So Ada, you want to talk about mini USB?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, let me ask you a philosophical question. Need more USB ports? What is a USB port? This is not the place to debate this, but we do have this DUB H7 7-port high-speed USB hub. Yes, 7 ports.
I mean, those all have to neck down to one communication channel.
Yep. You know what 7 ports means? It
It
means
was
7
almost
devices.
like you primed Chip to ask that question.
And 7 devices means 7 soft friends. I've just put this up for the
Dude,
joke because the joke. Anyways, 7. We can now address 7 devices at once. I will
So you
not
have
even
the
attempt.
7 dwarfs there plugged in, the 7 cyber dwarfs.
Basically, yes, through this mess.
and what was, that was a Linksys, wasn't it?
That was a D-Link.
D-Link, sorry.
Someone bought this in 2009 for $39.99 and kept the box for 14 years and then sold it on eBay.
Jeez.
I have respect for such bravery. Anyways,
It's a USB 2.0.
Yep.
Okay.
Just to prove that it is indeed working, here's the screen. I will not even attempt to touch the setup down there because everything will fall over. But witness the 7 devices at once. Witness the unnecessariness, maybe. Anyways, this can only mean one thing. The USB driver is finally out of beta. I now call it full release. Maybe it even is. Well, I call it a release candidate.
So your driver can deal with 7 ports on one connection.
Yep, just
Oh my goodness.
one.
And this being full speed USB, can you support a combination of like low speed and full speed devices?
Yep, it does it all.
Oh my goodness.
The main problem is that the way it's set up with the device is that the only device it can actually do 7 of is a game controller. Mostly just because of how I set it up and to avoid sort of unnecessary complexity.
So is it real? So you're using it for HID type?
Yep, it's just HID devices, but it also does the sort of X input special protocol magic thing that you need for like the Xbox style controllers. Not the actual Xbox controllers that you can buy in a store today. They use a different one.
Have you tried any mass storage devices, Ada?
No, I haven't, and I think that needs a bit of research because this is very unstable, and with the HID devices, you can just it doesn't really matter when you reset them. They don't really care. With the mass storage device, if you plug something in and it resets all the devices, it's probably less good. The other thing is I think this needs a different type of transfer. All these input devices use interrupt transfers, and I think a mass storage uses bulk transfer. It'd be interesting, but I'm actually more interested in mass storage on the device side, but I haven't messed with that at all. On the device side, in terms of the P2 being a storage device to the PC.
Oh yeah.
That'd be useful just for exposing the SD card so I can like drag files onto it. You can technically transfer files over the serial link, but it's slow.
Yeah, then you could, you could have the P2 kind of appear as a drive to any computer then, right? So you could actually do some file transfer,
Yeah, basically that.
and use it as actually data transfer of sorts, but
Yeah,
over
and-
the file protocol.
Yeah, and the advantage here is, of course, that it can do 12 megabits in theory on the USB, and it can only do like 2 maybe on the serial, and it's like glitchy and
Mhm.
just not good. Anyways, the USB driver, I will post link in chat if you need it. It's called Very Big Imagination USB New. And yeah, it can 7 devices. Look at how many 7 it is. Fun fact, I actually own exactly 7 of these dolls. It matches up perfectly. Destiny has once again shown its hand.
How big did this thing wind up being in code?
Actually, just very small. It's very modular, so you can only enable the features that you need.
Oh, okay,
And
so you don't.
the version that I'm using in the Neo Geo emulator, which I'm compiling as a separate thing, so I know how big it is 9,265 bytes.
Wow. So that's very compact. I always figure that's kind of how it should be, but the complexity comes when you're handling things like the HID protocol or the mass storage class protocol.
But it handles most of the HID protocol as it relates to game controllers. So it can decode the descriptors, it can figure out what sort of stuff everything has. Well, what this version doesn't have is the mouse support. That's disabled out. So if you added the mouse support, it'd be slightly bigger.
Excellent work here.
Excellent work,
Yeah.
exactly.
Good job.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
looking for the
amazing.
forum thread. You said it's called USB new, and it's in forums.parallax.com. Which subforum are you putting that in?
I haven't. It doesn't have a proper forum thread. It has the thread where we all developed on it.
Okay.
I mean, again, I must say that Marco did a lot of the work on this, so let's not take credit alone. That would be evil. But I did do a lot of the stuff, and of course, I did a lot of the stuff on the original gamepad driver, which could only do 1, which has existed for a much longer time.
Maybe
so
somebody could put that in chat.
It all
Oh,
evens
it's
out.
on the GitHub. I got it. Okay.
Yeah, the GitHub. There we go.
All right.
Anyways, I
I'll
will
just
not
do a
give you.
quick share of that so people can see it on my screen if they're just watching the video. Then I'll give
Oh,
this
yeah,
back to
I mean,
you.
I can share it as well.
Yeah,
Actually, I have
please
not
do.
attempted to screen share on this. So let's attempt and see if it causes sadness. I have to.
So the limitations, one more time, are that it only works right now with game controllers. Is that correct?
It can also handle 1 keyboard and 1 mouse. Exactly 1.
What would it take to do like more than 1 mouse or keyboard? Do you have to just make another array
Just
of
have to
state
arrange
data?
around the stuff a bit differently. The main thing right now is that it's hard coded in a bunch of places that you can only have 1, because why would you need more? It's not really part of the common use case. Like multiple gamepads, of course, that makes sense. Is it screen sharing?
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, well, again, multiple game controllers make sense, multiple keyboards. You need to have a specialty use case for that. So for that sort of thing, you need to edit it a bit. The main use case for having multiple is actually that there's some, like if you have a wireless mouse with like a receiver dongle, it sometimes will enumerate as a keyboard as well, because they use the same receiver dongles for like the bundled set of 1 mouse and 1 keyboard and 1 dongle. But they don't disable the keyboard interface on the dongle when they're selling it with just a mouse. So what you end up with is having a keyboard that never presses any buttons because it doesn't physically exist. But it sometimes takes up the slot on the driver, which is kind of obnoxious. However, if you do have a combined device like that, where both the mouse and the keyboard actually exist, then it works. Such as my ever-beloved PS2 adapter. Anyways, I've tried to make some nice documentation here. Is it quality? I don't know. There's also some nice features in here. In particular, all these things that you can configure. So you can really sort of crunch down on the size that you want or don't want. In particular, you have the overlap memory option here. And that will basically make it so that the code gets overlapped with one of the data buffers. And this is okay if you never restart the driver. And it saves just saves a couple of kilobytes of memory. Don't remember how much. Also, for some reason, it thinks language 100% Ruby. I need to fix the language setting. Because of the one Ruby script, of course. There's also a wiki part to this. You can actually I've actually sort of put down a bit of compatibility information on all the different devices that you can maybe or maybe not have in your possession. As my audio broke, there's no one saying anything.
Nope, we're here. Comments or questions for Ada?
Okay, sorry, I just have paranoia.
I think we're thankful for your work, and there's not a lot of questions because there's less than
Yeah, I mean,
two
there's
hands
no
of people
question to this.
online.
Anyways, you will now. I will now
Okay, well,
stop the screen share.
a round
And
of
we'll-
applause for Ada, everybody.
Again, do not forget Marco. He did a lot of the thing.
Good job.
He needs to get applause too. I will now give you a ground level view of whatever this is, and then we can go to the video if everything on my desk wasn't a complete mess.
Let's see those softies get animated over USB at some point.
Yeah, that's the thing. Well, I've unplugged the fire hazard machine. It actually works without it for these 7 game controllers for some reason. I don't know what it's doing to work with just the bus power there. I don't know. Okay, I can't give you the wired cord. And oh no, everything has fallen. Western civilization is doomed.
Well, before we get dizzy, should we switch to video now?
Yes, video, VGA.
All right,
Just plug the
video.
VGA in, video solved.
Okay, so
Okay,
one of the
all
reasons we're here
questions
today
answered.
is Brian had questions about video about, I don't know, maybe 2 months ago. So I took note of that and said, all right, well, we'll just ask Chip some questions about video. What are your questions, Brian? And I
think I've
pasted
actually
them.
answered all of them in the email just like quickly.
You did. That was great. And I don't know if Brian still has questions or if we even need to go over these in detail, but I put him in the chat, and yeah, Ada replied to
Is he even here?
Brian at the time. He's not even here, so who knows what's going on? It's summertime somewhere. But these questions were, do you see them, Chip and Ada in the
Let me
chat?
look in the chat.
Yeah, and is there anything that you'd like to talk about relative to them?
Well, there's something about video with without a frame buffer.
Yeah,
And,
that's his first question, isn't it?
yeah, and to that I can only say
And so that
oh no,
question
I
is,
took
let's
I
go
have
over it since people can't read it.
Well,
if
if he
they're
wants to
watching on YouTube.
output text, I mean, he has enough time to translate, text ASCII characters into slices fonts and display those on the fly. But so you could do cell-based graphics that way, or tile-based graphics. But if you have a bitmap image, well, I mean, then you have all the data all the time, you know, that makes up the pixels. So if he has some abstract mode, he has to be able to convert the, you know, compact data into expanded pixel data in time to drive the video output so it can raster.
Yeah, that's basically he seems to two cogs could ping pong between two shared line buffers. The way you normally do it is you don't have two cogs sort of alternating scanning out the lines, because that causes headaches. What you normally do is you just have one that scans all the lines out and one that generates them all the time.
Right. Yeah.
Which
When
is
thinking
obviously
about
better
it,
because now you have two separate sort of domains of code. You can not only separate them more easily, but you also just have more cogram in general. Anyways.
Why do you think he was thinking the twin cogs for alternating generation?
Because I guess it makes more sense having them equal, but they really shouldn't be. They should be doing different things and stay in the lane. Again, to real-time generated video, I only have to say, haha, funny emulator. I think this answers any question on is this a good idea, and does this have satisfactory performance? Because the answer is yes. With this, it's even loading all the sprites from the PS run, but you've seen this a million times because I can't shut up about it. Anyways,
No worries.
So maybe we need to have him present to describe why he wants to do this, right?
yeah, anyways,
And
I
the
can
question was, can you use two cogs to ping pong between two shared line buffers? Is there any sample code?
be more sort of pertinent question is the sample code, because I don't think there's any that isn't extremely convoluted right now.
Okay.
Because
So-
this is awful code, very optimized, but also does a lot of things, and it is not example code.
Well, it was, you were essentially rebuilding the original device, right? So your goal was to emulate more than anything else.
Yeah, in that sense, yes, but it doesn't really differ if you want to do your own thing versus emulating something.
Right. The
Because at the end
driver,
of the
right.
the only difference is what you generate into those lines.
Right.
Well, of course, if you do your own thing, it sort of generally falls into the into similar patterns, because you also have to think on a line-by-line basis. Of course, you can do a lot more than the old computers used to do. For example, I don't have this anywhere ready where I can load it right now, but I've done one that can draw shapes, like vector shapes, on the P1, mind you. So you have like 60 FPS full screen, everything vector graphics without a frame buffer, which is kind of unique. I also have a P2 version of that, where it can run in like crazy HD resolutions. But I haven't
Okay,
really
well,
messed with that in a
let's
long
go
while.
on to the next. Let's do the next
Yeah.
question from Brian. And Ada Chip, what do you think of this one?
is it number
I
2
know-
that we're on?
Yeah,
Just
P2
read the
clock
question.
rates.
So
Okay,
you
I know. No,
in
read the
case it-
question first. So watchers know what the question is. Can you read it, Chip?
Yeah. So in case of HDMI, you're going to have to
That's
run
not
it
the
10
question.
times.
That's not the question. I'll read it. I know P2 clock rates are limited if doing HDMI output. I want to run the P2 as fast as possible for other functions. If I choose analog VGA output, then what's the relationship I should maintain between the pixel clock and the P2 clock?
Well, it's going to be 1x, 2x, 3x, 4x. You want to have some kind of integral relationship if possible. But when you get down to like maybe 4x and beyond, you can start doing fractions because it won't blur pixels too badly. Would you agree, Ada?
Yeah, that's I think with this the VGA output, this is actually using like some sort of fractional frequency.
Yeah.
In fact, I think I eyeballed the pixel clock to something that would give me the right frame rate on the monitor OSD. I think that's actually what I did. Don't tell anyone.
Yeah, well, yeah, because video is so revealing. You have to respect it. You have to give it kind of preeminence as far as clock rate.
However,
And
on
then
the
adapt-
HDMI thing, the limit is a lower limit. If in a general case with most normal HDMI devices, you can actually add as much blanking as you want to the image. They do not care. So you can actually increase your clock frequency to as much as you want by just adding blanking to the signal. This will, however, not work if you have something like an HDMI to VGA adapter. Then it will horribly die because of all the extra blanking that it doesn't know what to do with. Well, it does know what to do with it, but it will.
So you're
it
saying in
won't-
HDMI, the amount of blanking doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter unless you like connect some sort of weird adapter. Maybe some capture devices will also be strange, but
Oh,
generally
yeah, yeah.
it doesn't
Something
matter.
that expects some standard. But so the monitor just scans in the data and then waits for the vertical refresh and then rescans it again. And probably
I
just doesn't
generally
even
add
care.
horizontal blanking because that's probably less problematic.
Yeah.
But and also generally
Okay.
easier to adjust the clock frequency with my line-based video. Of course, if you do want VGA, you shouldn't be using an HDMI to VGA adapter. You should just use the VGA directly. Like, why?
It's funny how these questions, they don't have one clear answer.
Right.
Maybe this one does. This one certainly does. How many P2 IO pins are needed for HDMI output at 480p and 720p?
8.
It's always
8.
the same, right? Okay.
Well,
All right.
720p is a bit of a stretch, so maybe say infinity. If you actually use all 64 pins together, you can do 4K output. Don't tell anyone.
Are you how? How would that work? Because I mean, yeah, you could get the total data across, but nothing's going to receive 8 channels.
No, it's because if you have all the IO pins connected to HDMI outputs, you can't tell if it's actually working.
Yeah,
It's a funny haha.
gotcha.
Okay, and how about the next one? Does the P2 clock need to increase with the HDMI output resolution?
As previously said, yes.
Okay. And question number 5, text output from a text buffer is desirable, again, without a full frame buffer. Is there any sample code that uses font data and a text buffer, ASCII or UTF-8 to draw a line at a time?
Yes, there's Roger's driver.
And
Whose
there's my
driver?
driver too.
Yeah, we've all made drivers that do that, I think.
Yeah, it's the most trivial thing.
Okay,
I
so
generally use
that's-
Rogers because it's just because I have it lying around and it does all the formats, but it's awful to set up for the different formats. So I just use it for VGA only anyways.
It sounds like what he wants to do is do some very simple line drawing with text to make a decent looking display.
Yeah, that's like trivial. I mean,
I
if
think
you have
I've
the
even done
emulator
some
running,
of that.
this is doing a text layer with with 16 colors or 15 colors on top of the actual graphics. So like it's credits text at the bottom and like the text at the top. It's all text on top of all the sprite graphics.
Ada, may I ask a question? For the people viewing this as a recorded video later, can we make recommendations to where to find these simple text drivers?
Good question. I don't even know where I think the version I use has like strange fixes applied that where like the color spaces were set up wrong or something and I fixed it.
Well, I can kind of answer that, Stephen. The goal is OBEX.
Yeah,
It's,
We
being
need
created,
OBEX.
We
so
need the
it's
OBEX.
close. OBEX is coming.
The OBEX is upon us.
Unless something is on the quick bytes or is distributed with Eric's tools.
Okay.
I think one of the quick bytes has a version of a text driver, maybe. I don't know.
I think my driver might be in the quick bytes. It's certainly on GitHub.
Anyways, it's the most trivial thing. You can probably write when you sleep.
And that was Eric talking, and that is the flex bin. Or flex.
Well, my VGA driver works in both FlexBin and Peanut because I wanted it to be portable.
Mhm.
And then we find that at your repo for the tool.
It's in the Propeller GitHub. You know, the one that was supposed to become the OBEX, or that will become the OBEX.
Yes.
Oh, the P2.
The P2,
Okay.
yeah.
P2
it's
GitHub
called-
OBEX. Okay,
Yeah, it's called something like
The
ANSI
P2
VGA,
GitHub OBEX.
gotcha. Okay.
because it's a terminal driver that supports ANSI control codes, but it also just does plain, text output.
Nice.
Okay, so the next question, and this one might be getting back into engineering details. Are there known tricks for efficiently using a CLUT to get output in 16-bit or 24-bit color pixels from 8-bit pixel data?
That's not a trick, that's a feature.
Okay.
Yeah, good way to put it. Yeah, you just pick
Yeah.
up your byte, and then the hardware looks up in the color lookup table the 24-bit pattern and outputs it for that.
Well, actually,
pixel.
the 32-bit pattern, you have to make sure that it's not,
Well, yeah,
that
there's
doesn't get
32
async in
bits.
it.
Yep.
Common in most code examples that we put out already?
Probably it's probably in there somewhere.
That's what you see on Ada's screen is doing that.
No,
Okay.
that's actually using the full RGB 32
Oh,
mode.
okay. Okay.
That's because there's too many colors, and also it'd be complicated even if there
Right,
wasn't.
to try to map. Okay.
So could you say that the answer is that the drivers take care of that for you?
Well, if you want to write one, it's very simply just load the colors in. You set it to lookup table mode, and it makes it happen.
Okay.
The driver or what?
If you're writing the driver, yes.
Okay.
And I mean, I could probably live code a bad VGA driver right now. It's the simplest thing in the universe.
Nice.
Okay, so will Brian come back to us with specifics on that? And of course, let us know how many P2 Edge modules you need to buy, and then we'll take care of that for you. Just kidding. All right. Oh, by the way, that must be an intermission break. We're going to have a big sale on Independence Day weekend of things that we make in Rockland. That includes P2 products and P2 Edge modules. So,
Nice.
yep, save up your money.
Watch for the sale.
Yep. So question 7 is, what is the cost for increasing the resolution from, say, 640 by 480 to 1024 by 768 or 1280 by 1024 with analog output? Does smart pins still do enough of the heavy lifting that one cog can easily support high resolutions, as long as you aren't relying on frame buffers that would eat up all the hub RAM?
I mean, if you're relying on the frame buffer, then it doesn't cost you anything. But if you don't have the frame buffer, you have to obviously get the stuff from somewhere. But other than that, if you've got the data already, it doesn't really make a difference.
Yeah,
The
video
pins don't
takes
even
a
have to be
lot of
smart.
data.
It's technically not a smart mode. It's just the DAC channel mode.
So there's no cost.
There is no cost other than the obvious. And of course, you can, in analog magic world, you can actually do line multiplication without increasing the horizontal pixel count. So that's what this is doing. It's like again, it is useful because it is cool. This is going 320 by 240 in the sort of virtual resolution, but on the monitor, this is actually something like 960 by 720 or something. And what it simply does, it repeats every line 3 times, but it doesn't actually have to double up the pixels or triple up the pixels, because it can just use a lower pixel clock. So if you just want to increase the resolution to make the image less blurry, that actually costs basically nothing. it can even do line 4x if you really wanted to, and then have like a, what would it be, 960p image or something. But this monitor doesn't do that, so because it's old and bad.
Okay, well, let's ask if anybody here in the participant list has any questions about anything they've heard. Any video questions, or comments, or requests? Anyone else? You can use chat too if you want.
Yes, use the chat.
I think most of us here have kind of done a lot of this work.
It's
Yeah,
Ken's
videos.
fault for not posting the newsletter. No one knows the meeting is happening.
Yeah, Ken, you know what? It was really hard for me to find this link today. I first went to the main web page at Parallax, and I just wasn't seeming to be able to get there. And then I went to the forums and I looked at in the P2 the thread about stuff, and that's like 2 years old. And then I finally went back to the page and looked up something. Was it under social or some kind of social
Community.
media? And then I finally found it. So
Community events P2.
what's that?
Community events P2.
Yeah, it was hard for me to find. Usually it seems more obvious. Like it presents itself to me, but I had to go really dig it out today.
Yeah, I know. You're right.
That's,
You've become accustomed to the way this started 3 years ago, and you did not accept any change.
yes.
We can improve on that for sure, but shortage of time. Maybe I'll get Ari to work on that a little bit with me and Stephanie.
One of the things we did on our website, Ken, is we put upcoming events. So the next things, and then the week out or something, just show up on a side panel. That might help.
Yeah, bring
Well,
it
if
to the
this-
surface.
If this is video themed and there's nothing else to talk about, let's do a rerun of an old project. They're just prepared because I thought maybe it might be interesting. You all remember quad view? No, you don't. You'd be lying if you say you do. Quad view is the video driver of the quadruple inputs. Let's see if I can bring up everything that is necessary.
Okay, this is the 1 minute intermission before we move to Stephen and talk about Visual Studio Code updates.
Note that there's a video display while it's plugged into that port.
Behind the
I can go into a different port and after I unplug the VGA, otherwise it gets weird. There's a different video display if I plug into a different port, and there's yet still a different video display on the last port.
What's the deal with that? What kind of hardware are you connecting to?
Well, it's just a P2, of course.
But multiple ports?
Yep, let's show it on the actual capture. Multiple video ports, and they're all running off of one cog. Well, I say that's a lie. Of course, the Mandelbrot here has to be computed by a different cog. And this sort of alpha blend effect also has to be computed by another cog, but it's just an example that I made a long time ago.
But the display drive is a single cog doing 4 separate ports.
Yes, how does this evil magic work?
Very cool.
The answer is artifact colors. There's only one color modulator, but if you use artifact colors, you can just bye-bye, we don't need you. And it turns out you can do a lot of things with artifact colors, such as alpha blending.
Huh.
Stephen, are we ready to talk about VSC?
I can be, yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
wait a moment. Actually, Ken,
This is
the main part of the title of that video is kind of display driving with a P2. And I don't see anything of that right now. And when asked where can you download Roger's driver, we don't know.
I know.
Well, what's that about? I mean, the thing is titled "How to Run Decent Pictures on a P2," and nothing of this is here. I mean, I like the small talk, but And now we are talking about Visual Studio Code. I'm waiting for that too. No problem. I like it. But what's about display driver here?
We want more video.
Do you want more
I
show and
want at
tell
least something to download and to look
and
at.
to run?
Well,
I really would like to run some VGA, or except just using flex prop and
We
Maybe-
must,
maybe
existing the driver there.
this problem will only be solved by the whip.
The
Dum,
OBEX.
dum, dum,
By the
dum, dum,
OBEX,
dum, dum,
okay.
dum.
Oh,
Truly a
okay.
weapon for the
Composite cables.
Well, in the
Yes.
meantime,
component to VGA cable. Look at the
It
shiny box I'm dangling in front of you.
We see a cable, yes. Plugs.
so to answer some of the noise I heard from Clear Lake, California,
Yes,
if you go to the Propeller 2 quick bites, just giving you the answer that exists for now. Things will improve. Don't look frustrated. You don't need to put two hands on either side of your face. You can come in here and you can click on things of interest to you. So let's see here. VGA HDMI. Watch this. And when you click on that, you're going to get 1, 2, 3, 4 examples. One of them includes Rogo's driver. Actually, looks like there are really 2 here. One is a 3-part series with video. And I ask you, Mr. Sommer, hast du das gesehen? Have you seen this? Because there's some good stuff in here. There's a 3 video series with code examples, outputting all kinds of video. And the code is available at the bottom of each page for download. So I don't think we have the solution you want, but I totally disagree with the statement that we have nothing to share. I mean, we're not sharing anything right here and right now, but we do have examples. They're available and you can get them.
Yeah, we
Now,
need
this
the
one
OBEX
actually-
though. The OBEX will be like very
Well-
much a forum for all kinds of people to contribute.
Everybody agrees with that statement already. And we showed the OBEX a month ago, right? We had a demo of it in progress. And I personally spent some time to get us ready for that and also avoided efforts to try to restart it in different formats with too much groupthink. So we're heading down a path that gets us
Too much
OBEX.
groupthink.
Yes, that will be done in a WordPress format so that it can be accessed by everybody. So I think that's coming.
Well, by everybody, unless they have like less than 3 million gigabytes of RAM.
Possibly true. Yeah, that's a dilemma using using WordPress. But these examples I'm showing right now show you how to actually create graphic images and then upload and combine them with text. So
Exactly.
yeah, to Michael's question, I would also like a little more wow examples right now, but we didn't have the time to really get all this together. Still with me, Michael?
Yes, I am.
Oh, I know how you feel. I see it on your face.
Yeah, because on the P2 I had basically P1 I had basically the same problem, that I never understood the video driver hardware or the video driver's chip load, because I'm a COBOL programmer. I can't work with variable names like A, C, V, D, whatever. 2-letter names is deadly for me. So I never understood any of those video drivers, and it was supposed to get easy. And Ada says, "Oh well, I could put one together and probably
I will
live
do
in
it
five-
right now,
probably
just like
live in
you.
5 minutes."
I will do
And I
this right
feel-
now just because it's funny.
And I
Watch
feel so dumb.
me copy
Well, I think you're actually, I'm a dummy user and I can barely use some of our code. And you're talking about bridging the gap between really easy stuff and that material the experts have produced. And this takes time. It
Yeah.
really does, especially takes time with our little group at Parallax and our little community and our limited resources. We just can't do it all overnight. Chip made something really amazing, very powerful, and spent many years, but it takes also many millions of dollars to bring that to a level of completion that customers expect to buy chips from big companies.
Yeah.
So you got, that's the business side you got to think about when we ask for everything. We just need time to get little things. And when we made the Propeller 1, we released OBEX. That came out at really the peak of our ability to produce things. We had a big staff, right, Chip? I think we had 40 plus people, and we had a lot going on in the office from educational efforts that really fueled it too. Okay, so I see some VSC.
Yes,
No.
I will now write video. Watch this.
Oh, okay. I thought this was Steven's work.
Okay, let's make it.
prove it.
Let's make it easier for ourselves. Let's go clock rec equals 252.0.0.0.0, and here we go. That org 0 is m clock. So now we have something going. Now I'll have to excuse me for a second. I have to look up what the correct timings are. I do not have them in my brain.
So while Ada does this, Stephen, you can get your material queued up.
ready.
Okay.
I'm just, as long as it doesn't require crazy screen share, because otherwise no one will know the thing happened. Oh god, I can't find the site that has the VGA timings. I'm doomed. Oh no, there it is.
Ada just wrote, that is like the most simple kind of program with variable clock you can download.
You
The
just
ASM clock will assemble the stuff. It'll compute what the
it's not-
what the clock setting should be and set up the PLL, and then your code just runs.
Yep. So lines. Just gonna copy all the lines that we need. Lines sync equals 2 lines back porch equals 33. Well, right now we're doing this properly. If I just was able to just guess, it's easier. So we now need a frame, and we will make this an infinite loop. Okay, we now have an infinite loop, everybody. I also need a base pin, maybe. That's also useful.
So do you have to bring in the video driver, or are you writing the video driver?
I am writing the video driver right now. I am
Okay.
completely gone off the rails. Sorry. I have gone mad with power. This would have to be POE maybe plus P
Right.
channel. P channel, and we also need. Okay, this is another tricky one. How much do we need? Actually, we're in cog 0. We don't need to. We can be lazy right now.
This may take, Ada, this will
Yeah,
probably take
P-
about 20 minutes to get together, right?
No, it will take a lot. It will take a lot.
Okay.
shorter.
So you
You can
keep
do the
working on
other thing
that,
in the.
and then we'll come back
background.
to you. You could do a private screen share with Michael, and you can video record this.
Well, actually, you can. I can stop screen sharing and come back when it's become relevant. I just trust that I will not copy paste any code into this.
Okay, Stephen.
Okay, let's have the share here. Oh, there's something I want to share, isn't there? Where is it? There it is. Okay, I think you're seeing my Visual Studio Code running. It's showing you what we're going to talk about today is the latest changes to the Spin2 highlighter. I'm looking at the extensions marketplace, and this is the extension we're talking about. It is the P1 and P2 syntax and semantic highlighting extension. And I just wanted to introduce, I'm working on now getting prepared to handle multi-file search and information presentation operations. And that means I'm putting a language server behind the system. On my way there, I've been doing deep research into what all the features are that we can put in with a language server, and realize there are 3, 4, 5 more things that I can do before I even go there. And so I call those 5 things low-hanging fruit, because they'll work in the existing system before I add the new sub-process. And so today I'm going to talk about 2 of the things I just recently added, and there are more coming over the next week or 2. So what we have now is we now have object hierarchy. By the way, you all have this version, so this should work on yours. I distributed it last night, so anybody running Visual Studio Code now should be able to replicate what I'm doing. We have object hierarchy is new, and we have the generation of the documentation is new. And I'll demonstrate both of those, but that's here. And let's go to code. So here I am looking at the dual motor code, one of my demo files. And you're already familiar with the outline. And that just, I'm sorry, move, y'all, move, thank you. And you know, it can be used for navigation within the file that you're looking at. So we've all seen that. This is not new. I've done a little bit of reorganization, and so I'm going to show you that first. Let's look at the settings. And right now there are settings for all the extensions you have, but I've reorganized everything such that if you type in spin2, which is the name of the extension, these are the settings related to the spin2 extension. So all you have to do is put in the filter for the spin2 driver, and now you have quick access to all your settings. I did that also for commands built in. And so now you can, I changed the titles and everything. And so now you can do a quick search. Is everybody following along? This makes sense. I typed in filter for the commands, and now you can see all the commands here. Now, this is let's go to the motor file itself. And one of the new commands I'll show you then is I'm going to run a filter against this code and generate the documentation. And it was that fast.
Cool. Awesome.
So it's pretty much instantaneous if you're on a reasonable machine. And so this is literally by processing this open file, it just created this text file, and you can see it just dropped it right here. And so it's right alongside.
Now you have some plans for what to do with these in some kind of automated fashion, right?
Oh, I have lots of plans. We'll get into futures later on, but for right now, I'm just demonstrating the current capabilities. So now we have that, and all it's doing is taking dot comments out of the document and dropping them in. And I kept the formatting near identical to what Chip was doing in his doc generation. And so the only thing that you don't see is, because I'm not using a compiler, you don't get a list of object sizes right here and the amount of memory it takes, because it hasn't been compiled. I'm just filtering the source. So that was the doc generation feature. The next thing we added is we now have outline dependencies. And you can see that it now shows you the objects. Right here, it's parsing the object statements. And you can see that it's actually showing you the full tree. And so this is new as of the release last night. It also works similarly, that if you click on it, you're now in that file, and this file has no object section, so it just went away. So now you can literally wander through the files and see what their objects are with each file you open.
That's cool.
Okay, so that's working. You already have this. What you'll notice about this is that in here, you'll see that there are 2 instances of easy analog invoked by this file. And it actually tells you that right here in this line. So as you're looking at the objects, you can see if there's a single named object or if there are multiple instances. And so that's there already as well. So you can see what the names are that it's using. If you refer to a file that doesn't exist, how am I going to do this? It's not reparsing live yet right now. We'll get that later. But let me just create one that doesn't exist and I'll reload the file. What is this? This is motors, RC. Now you'll see that it's actually marked with missing file.
Huh.
All right. So if you point off to something that won't compile, it's going to tell you right away in here. Just so let's fix that now because I don't want my code repo to look bad. All right. That's that. I think now the only other thing you'll see that if you have a project that has a settings file, remember our build tools use a settings file. And when you do a build command and it's running FlexSpin behind the scenes, or you do a build command and it's running Peanut behind the scenes, those build commands use a symbol that's defined in a settings file in, can I do this live? I don't know if I can do this live. We'll see. I don't know. I'm not going to try it. Anyway, you put in a settings file with just a top file, colon, file and base name. And then this outline tool will actually detect that you're using a top file, that a project has a main file and you're iterating on developing a project. This outline will then stay locked to that top file even when you change files. So that it's always telling you what the current top file build will be. So that if you're in a single project, in this case, I'm doing a repo, so I'm doing multiple files. But if you want to set a single file, you can set that at the top. And whenever you build and download, it'll build the top file and download. Then this outline will stay locked to that. And so all of that is spoken of here on this page. Object hierarchy. And you can see right here, these are the features of the current object hierarchy tool. If you have any code that the object's not being recognized, just file an issue, I'll get it fixed. This is a first release. I went through a number of my files and nearly all of them are working. I haven't checked every file I've got because I've got like 1,500 Spin2 files or Spin files. And so I haven't been through them all. So I'm sure it can be improved. But as with any release, just go ahead and go to the repo. Hello. Let me change the share. Where's my share?
Yeah, this is really shaping up to be awesome. Once the compiler is folded into all this business, man.
Really interesting.
And can we talk briefly for those who don't know the background, just kind of why we're looking at this? Like, if I could for a second. So are you using Peanut or are you using FlexSpin here?
I'm not using either right now in the demonstration that I showed you. I didn't do any compilations.
Okay, but you could use
Just
either.
to show you how powerful it is. But
All right.
yeah, on Windows, you can use FlexSpin or Peanut, or have them both connected live and just whichever command you execute, it'll execute the one you want. On Raspberry Pi, Linux, or Mac, you can run FlexSpin behind the scenes.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to hear. So the situation we have is Propeller tool, which is Windows only, is built on, well, Windows only older tools that we're having trouble maintaining, or we will pretty soon. And we want to have a more universal system. So we're looking at VSC and helping Steve and encouraging him to get this in a direction that has most of the features that we've seen in Propeller tool. And Jeff is looking at it. Jeff makes our Propeller tool software, and Jeff is looking at now the setup could be made more easy so that anybody could do it with a one kind of, I don't know, setup. What do you call that process? Like, it's not batch files or a zip or installer, but it's just a simplified setup, right?
You're talking about VS Code.
Like, yeah. So that
oh yeah, one of the things we'll be looking at is we have a way to automate once you install the extension. The extension can go out and look for either known places, or if you've advertised your installation places for FlexSpin and for Peanut, we can go out and find them and actually build your tasks files. So you don't even have to go out and hand transcribe that stuff. You just install the Spin extension and it will set itself up appropriately. We can also create a command that says identify the top file, and it'll also set up all it'll all record that locally in your current project, such that you don't have to hand edit all these JSON files. So we can get past that.
So at that point, it's very similar in ease of use to Propeller tool.
It's getting closer. It's getting closer. Yep. And we will continually work on that as we find new ways of time. I would encourage this community too. I realize that there are a small number of us here live, but if you're watching the video, if you see things that we're not doing with Visual Studio Code that you have experience with or would like us to do and know some techniques for how to do it, contact me directly, submit a feature request with details on what you know how to do it. Submit it at the repo website. You can get to it right from the extension page in VS Code. Just go to their repo website. In fact, let me share that website again. That is right, where the heck is it? Did I change my browser? Where'd it go? I had it. It's not here. Anyway, let's open this for a minute. It's this link right here, repository. Have that open in the browser. Thank you. Which is not shared. So I'll stop this share and share the browser that opened. Pardon me for just talking you through it. That way you know what I'm doing. And here you see the website. And what I'm talking about is go ahead, go to here to issues. Now you can see you report a new issue. What? I'm not logged in. Great. If you reported a new issue, you'd see features, you'd see a link to the forum, or you'd see report a bug. And so these are just outstanding things I haven't fixed yet or won't. And they'll be just add to this list and I'll get them working on them.
And as this pertains to the compiler, so Chip's near-term goal is to get the file system working. But long-term, there's discussion that's occurred and it's referenced in a lot of these videos about rewriting the compiler in a portable language, which would mean
that's a useful one.
FlexSpin. Yep, hopefully that is FlexSpin, or a universal peanut could run on anything.
Right. And so if we do the universal peanut, then we'd also get universal debug and universal debugger. And so that's our end goal, is get all those debug displays back available on all platforms and get the debugger available on all platforms.
Excellent work, Stephen.
That's where we're headed. Oh, thank you. And I'll continue. As I said, there are low-hanging fruit yet coming up before I go to language server process. So expect a number of fun releases coming up with new features. One of which will be documentation for spin commands and spin constants. Will just be hover text. And that's going to be one of the next upcoming ones in the next 2 weeks.
You know, this could, if I can see where this is going, and what it's going to do is kind of reflexively influence how we write comments for methods and things. If they're going to be able to appear, like when you hover over an object.method name, and it'll, you know, the explanation there will need to be kind of in context of like the guy looking at his code wondering, now how do I fill this in?
Correct. Now we already have a standard for how we generate the doc comments, right? How we generate that external documentation that Peanut does. I'm using exactly the same techniques for your own personal methods. So if you document your own method with doc comments, then that's going to appear in the hover text for your custom methods. So we'll use the same techniques, so the doc generation works and the internal doc generation works for the hover flyovers. The difference is that it'll be colorized with hover flyovers because we'll recognize some keywords and the type of object is public and private methods, things like that. We'll be able to decorate it with a little more information. It does speak that you'll be wanting to add doc comments to your variables because when you hover over a variable, it'll raise that up to you and remind you of it. I'll probably put local file. In the first release of hover stuff, it'll be local file only. In the language sub-process language server environment, which is adding more pieces to the extension. A language server is a separate process that runs in the background and chases all the files in your working directory. Technically, it should chase just the ones that are from your top level file, not all the files. So I might chase both just so you can find information in files that you haven't included in your project. The net result is, though, when you chase then any method name you refer to, it'll tell you which file it's in and then give you the text documentation from that. Initially, when I first do the hover text, it'll be current file only. When you add the language server, then I can go across all the files.
I wonder, you know, it'd be cool, and it could be done because there's a lot of data we could harvest from source code, but like when you define a var, if you have like a single var definition, or maybe multiple on a line, what if you took the comment after the var name and you made it so that if you hover over the var name, it shows the comment?
That's what I say by dot comments. If you, not regular comments, but if you put dot comments up there, the double tick, I'll pull any double ticks from your single lines from immediately above or to the right.
Okay, so
you get two standards, okay? And so the flyover text will give you that immediately. And then I'll give you ways such that you can put certain keywords in there, and then I'll interpret the keywords and do special things in the markdown. And document all that as we get it working. There's a whole bunch of research to make this work. Examples are few and far between, and there's a lot of extrapolation between their example and how we really want to present it.
yeah.
So I look at the best in class extensions that are presenting it really well, and I can see what can be done. There are no examples that tell me how it can be done. And so then I have to experiment with running it over and over and playing with the markdown over and over until I really like what I'm seeing.
Hopefully they don't break things on us later, you know?
Oh, they will, but
This is how Windows has always been.
Yeah, they will, but by the time I get it structured, then adapting to the change is just search and replace in a good part, in a good bit of sense. If I work with Ada and your website, Ada, that you have the live material there, then what I'd like to see is that we have a convention for a URL, a conventional form of URL, so I can just say, this is the piece, this is the type of piece, and this is the base URL, and I'll provide links to Ada's documentation right in the hover text.
Well, the thing is that the stuff is split based on categories, so not
Correct.
all instructions are on the same page.
Correct.
However,
And so once
most of the instruction category, all the instruction categories are generated by a script. So if you go into the thing, I'll show it right now. Not right now, in a short second. I'm currently still
you're still busy coding.
still busy coding. I think. Okay, we have gotten something. We've look at it. We have gotten
Okay, just a quick finishing my thought.
attention input signal Y with
Nice.
dots is out of range. Okay, we have gotten something.
Okay, let me finish my thoughts and then I'll
Yeah.
turn it over to you, Ada. So two things I want to do. Once Parallax has formal documentation in a fixed place, be it a PDF with bookmarks or be it an online document that we can refer to, then I'll put links in our hover text to that documentation. In the interim, Ada has this dynamic page, and so I would like to, and maybe we'll use both once both arrive, but we'll put links to Ada's documentation where possible too, and I'll work with Ada to make that programmatically easier to do than hard coding with every instruction. And so we'll look forward to that as we get fly up documentation working.
Super awesome.
Believe it or not, VGA driver completed.
Briefly, inside
knew it.
Parallax, the hope is that if Jeff is not maintaining Propeller tool, that he could create the kinds of code examples that people want and curate OBEX better for us, and then assist with this kind of documentation effort Stephen is speaking of.
Nice.
So hopefully everyone likes that. We're just trying to work with the pieces we have and shuffle them around and make the most use of them. Okay, what's the red screen of VGA Doom going? What's this about?
I have successfully done the challenge. Later in the YouTube recording, we can see how long it took, but this is it. This is
a
the
complete
crappy VGA driver. This is all it needs. It doesn't do anything except display red. However, we can change this real quick. We can go into this. This is really, wait, no, this is not it. This is very badly structured. That's why we
red?
can't tell what it is. This one, let's split this up into 8 little
What do you think,
individual
Michael?
bits, and then we can make color bars like they used to have on the old TV.
Nice.
Anyone remember what TV is?
Also, I must do.
Okay, I'll just make color bars happen using
Sweet.
the magic of awful hard-coded nonsense.
It's okay. We're being amused by your hard-coded nonsense.
Are there any questions for Steven's effort?
Yeah, Steven, I put a link into the chat,
Be amazed.
which is that spin documentation thing Filthy built years ago. Just throw some spin file at it. You have even spin 2, but you have to rename it to spin. And look what he did there, because he also used the spin tool documentation thing and produced kind of an HTML file out of it. And
That's
I
great.
used that a
It's still
lot.
running.
Yeah, it's still not running.
Actually, what's the not a real color bar?
But that one makes really nice documentation out of that comments.
I'll look at it, but I'm also I'm not a fan of sending any of my code to the cloud. But yes.
No, in that case,
Phil's not there to receive it.
in that case, it's from Phil Pilgrim. So
Yes.
the question is how long that server is still alive.
Yeah, agreed.
I'm in touch with his brother, and I'm surprised this is still running.
Yeah,
Go ahead and take a look at it, though. Thank you for the suggestion.
because that is really nice. He did that years ago, and I'm using it since, I don't know, 13 years.
Nice.
And
Okay.
it simply produced an HTML file, and even with object for link objects, and he has kind of one comment character more. He is doing 3 open brackets and for kind of grouping, like a tree view. You can use 3 open brackets to get kind of some master comment, like in a tree view, you know, and a node around it, you know.
Does he describe the syntax anywhere?
On that spin documenter thing itself, I think there is some. I have to look. It was basically it takes the spin tool documentation things without any change. Just for the tree view with more objects, he has 3 open brackets and 3 closed brackets instead of 2.
If you have any files that demonstrate that, let me know.
Basically, yeah, I will post my web server thing tomorrow. I can't because my web server SD is bigger than an attachment zip is allowed, so I can't put
No worries. Yeah.
So I have to kind of separate the SD card into 3 zip files, and then I can post the post.
What about sending me you can do email to me if you want.
Yeah. Yeah, I can mail that. Can I mean wait, I just have it open here. I can't put the SD, but the rest I can just post right now. And then I will kind of add those other 3 files. So it's posted now. It's a web server RTC zip file. And that's basically the web server for the P1. And all them files are documented with HTML files with that spin documenter.
Okay.
So all of those files have basically all methods described and on each method is comment and comment and comment everywhere,
Good.
including full duplex serial and Kai's fat engine, and they are all in there and all documented. So you can use that as test for you documenter for sure, because all of the source is documented.
Nice.
Yeah.
We'll definitely take a look. All right. Yeah.
Chip, I
Anyways.
passed the host over to you. I have to get to an appointment. So you're on your own. Don't forget to hit the stop recording button.
All right.
Okay, thank you.
Well, I can
Okay,
go
thanks.
through what the amazing VGA driver I just wrote does, just to stay on topic with the thing.
Yeah,
You know,
stay on topic. I want to see it.
I've disabled the screen share. I have to only enable it
Yeah.
and find the window. Oh, it's lagging the computer. Not anymore. We have survived the attack. So anyways, what is
the
it?
source
What
again?
is this?
Yeah.
So remember where we were? We
Yeah.
at the clock frequency, we were typing out all the different timing constants. Cool. So what we do is aux0, of course. Then we do ASM clock, which is normal. So the first thing we do is we set up the horizontal sync pin to something. Then we set the actual 3 color pins. We set them to the actual DAC value. I'm not entirely sure if this really needs to be a separate one for the sync pin, but we just do that. Then we enable all these pins with a drive low. And we also drive high the VSync pin. We don't set a special mode. It'd probably be correct to set it to a bit DAC mode of this sort of type. But I don't think I've actually done that ever. It just works like that. I don't know. Then we have magic set CMOD constants. Disclaimer, I did actually have to copy that one because I was too lazy to load the Google Doc that has the actual documentation, and my documentation page does not yet have this. I will add it soon. But this sets up the color space modulator in some way, and this just sets it to pass it straight through but scale it down so it has the correct range. Just ignore this. This is just, you set this up differently for different modes. And then we set extract to 1/10, and we're off into the frame loop. This is actually not necessarily needed. We just set line CT to 0 right here. And then we do a loop here over all of 480 visible lines. This is just the individual bars of the color bar pattern. Initially, I just had one that made it red, but I've improved it. I've made it color bars. We just do this 480 times, and at the top here we do a call to do hsync. This does something important. This does the sync section, where it engages the hsync by setting the bottom byte to 1, and it also has the all-important x0 in here. We have to do an x0 every line, otherwise everything will get out of whack, and due to the NCO precision not being infinite. We just have to do this somewhere every line, and this is a good place to do it. Anyways, then this is just the front porch to sync the back porch. And then we do the front porch vertically by just emitting a blank line with an hsync in front. Then we have here the vertical sync. Here we just drive low the sync pin, do a couple blank lines again, then drive high the sync pin. Then we do about a couple more blank lines for the back porch, and then we start over from the top.
Cool.
This is just
This is just cool. Thank you.
and all of these xcont commands have the same little argument. It's this which says use all the DAC channels. This which says we want just a constant color. If you wanted to stream from memory, we put a different one here and set up the FIFO first, but in this case we don't. In this case we just want color bars, which are also constant colors, so we just set this. And then we add to that the number of pixels that we wanted to do, which in this case it is always pixels width, which is also 640. And then we just put the color that we want, which in this case is nothing. See, black. And of course, in case of the color bars, it's just color bar colors. as you can see, this is the most basic thing possible. In fact, I could, instead of this, I could make like a bad gradient. If I instead went something like thingy res1, take a new variable, say more thingy null, and then rep 2, well, it have to be 3 probably. No, it could be 2. Pixels viz add thingy 1, no, not 1, 1 on top of this, and then we excont it with probably an excont out here. We only want 1 pixel, and we want to give it the thingy. Oh, this actually is a third instruction, so we have to set it to 3, or just
There you go.
give it a name, give the loop a name. It's fine. We don't have to hurt ourselves. Operand too big for rep. Operand too big for rep. Operand, oh, this. What do we get? What do we get on the screen? We get a gradient in blue.
Nice.
Inexplicable, right? Actually, what we can do is we can move thingy line CT. Actually, no, better idea. We can just we set it to line CT, and then we shift left by maybe 16. I don't know. Let's find out what that was. We don't know. Something apparently.
Mhm.
We now have a different graphic maybe, and now we can maybe we want to count the frames. Frame CT res1. More frames CT 0, and add, why is this indented? I don't know. Frame CT 1, and then we can maybe do something like set byte thingy. Actually, no, that's bad. Want to what do we want to do? Actually, yes, we want to move frame CT in there and do this, and then add thingy line CT, and then we shift left by another 8 maybe. Just random stuff. Oh, I'm not sure why it's diagonal now, but it sure is.
But I like the color morph.
Actually, you can probably do it like 8,
because
16.
you shifted 2 times.
There we go. Now that's more like what I was expecting.
Nice.
Very pretty.
Mhm.
Pretty, I mean, very basic little thing.
Very stable display though, fun.
Yeah, this is just, it's hard to create an unstable display, quite honestly. Well, I say that if you do funny stuff, of course.
Well, of course, but you're saying it's a very tolerant spec if you understand that
No, it's just
It's
very easy to get right.
okay.
If you don't do anything funky like change timing midway through, like with the, I had an issue with the one of the emulator drivers because it has to emulate interlacing on the VGA screens by sort of shifting the picture down a bit, and it was reading that flag mid-frame, and when it changed mid-frame, it was a line missing from the VGA signal, so it kind of lost sync on some monitors. but now it doesn't anymore. I fixed that. Anyways, just to show that VGA driver basic is just really trivial. It gets a bit less trivial when you get into the other formats, but and even less trivial if you want to do them all in the same code because you're insane. But yeah, colors. You ever see colors? I mean, some people don't, but colors.
All the colors.
Mesmerizing. If I wanted to make this a bitmap display, mind you, actually, can I fit the bitmap in? Probably yes, yeah. I have to calculate if we actually have enough memory for like a simple shitty bitmap. 640 by 480. Actually, we may not have, yeah, doing a 16-bit bitmap is a bit too much.
I would like to show Chip how slow an editor in the HTML can be when you write it. It's 10, 12 years ago when I wrote it. I need to share the screen for a moment, then you can.
How slow HDMI can be?
Yeah, a slow editor for.
I've had it down to 24 frames per second.
No, I need you to show where is an open browser. I want you to show something. So I have a Propeller and it's called Propeller 1.
You know, it's funny that all this time since we've had these screens that probably store memory for pixels anyway, it would have been so cool if we could have just like digitally loaded a buffer and then addressably change it later on for whatever's needed without having to keep sending the same data over and over and then be, you know, stuck at lower resolutions because we can't pump it all out all the time.
Yeah, I think the laptop screen sort of things, they actually don't have inbuilt memory. They just you have to blast them at just the right resolution, otherwise they don't work.
So can you see
Yeah.
that?
But
screen?
all the sort of standalone monitors, they have some sort of memory. It's kind of strange.
So here is now the screen of my Spinneret P1 server. And there we have an editor. I was at editor 17 before I lost that drive. So we are now down to editor 8. Oh, das hat er jetzt nicht gefunden. Ist das noch ein L? Doesn't need an L. Yeah, see, I want to show something that doesn't work. Where is it, sucker? Here, editor. Yeah. No. Okay, this is editor, and you can edit. Let's see what we have. We have in source dem name copy. So it can open files when you give it an URL. In this case, I do get request. I have an spin file open.
Oh, Michael, you made this thing?
30 in April, it was 10 years ago. All running in one HTML file. Ada will love it. All JavaScript is included.
Oh, so okay, so what you're saying,
This is an
you wrote this in HTML.
This is a website served by the Spinneret and can edit Spin1 files in the browser. I also
Wow.
can compile that spin file in the browser using OpenSpin. And it will now compile the spin file to a binary. In theory, it should do that.
Is the OpenSpin running
It's-
in the browser? Was it compiled?
Yes,
to-
yeah. Heater compiled it somehow with EM-Scripten.
Cool.
And that it gets fed, also includes subfiles and directories and resolves the files out of the file system from the browser.
And fun.
Yeah, and basically you can now that is what my problem was. I can't run them now on the web server because then the web server is gone.
Mhm.
So it's shelled out to OpenSpin to do the compilation, right?
Basically, OpenSpin is running as JavaScript in the browser. So Heater converted OpenSpin into JavaScript with a program called EM-Scripten. I never figured
Interesting.
out how he did that. But basically, the browser runs lots of JavaScript code, and that JavaScript code fetches files from the web server, basically. And this web server here also supports the put verb instead of get, so you can basically save files on the web server by just putting them there instead of getting them. Put them back as a HTML verb. So you can edit files, compile them, and yeah, and then nothing. Then you have them on the web server. Yeah, but my goal is to get the same thing running on the P2 with the help of the V6100 or 6200 Ethernet board. I haven't gotten my driver, still not works there, but I'm working on it. And then basically I have the rest is written in Spin, basically, you know. So I have all that running, and on the P2 we have at least, according to Ross, Catalina now can run on the P2. So there is an ASM, P2 ASM
Kind of
compiler.
run, yeah.
The P2 ASM compiler I could use instead of OpenSpin, or Ada figures out how to run Flex Prop compiler in a browser.
I think it's possible.
Yeah, it should be possible. The main issue is that the documentation for the stuff is bad as usual. I could not figure out how if it's possible to sort of reset the heap every time, sort of create a new object, new heap object for the whole thing.
I had basically to wrap the whole thing into wie heißt a web worker. It was called a web worker, and that web worker I could kill them, and then it released the memory, and it was hogging memory without end in the browser. You had to close the browser. Every compiling kind of shut the browser memory up. So I wrapped it into something called a web worker or something, web worker tasking, and that I could kill after execution, and then the memory went down. And that was one of the, I did a couple of changes to also that it kind of got the files out of the browser. So that all of that.
Anyways, right now I'm preparing because I cannot leave a thing alone, surely.
So I quit sharing here. I just wanted to show that, so that that was 10 years ago. Now we have very nicer editors.
Michael, you said this thing was written in Java?
In
OpenSpin?
OpenSpin is a C program.
So it's a C program, right?
Yeah, it's a
But
Open
normal.
is a-
source. But then
There's a
it
C
got,
compiler that will compile C to JavaScript, or these days WebAssembly, I think. And it's called mscripten.
okay. So it ultimately runs in the browser as JavaScript, but
Yeah.
it came from another language.
Yes. Basically, that's the thing, yeah. And so it doesn't really run on the P2. The P2 is just serving the files, or the P1
Right.
in this case, you know. It's just serving the file system for it, you know. Everything, all work is done in the browser in that case, you know. But as Anna said, even after 5 years, now even after 10 years, the same application still runs in the browser. The browsers are the most stable things in the whole ecosystem. Windows changes and OS changes and driver for serial ports change, but the browser still can use old code, sort of, basically.
I mean, Windows is almost reasonably stable. It just has like most of the compatibility issues are unintended. The actual issue with Windows is that they keep making intended changes to make it worse. Okay,
Yeah.
I have, if you can disable your screen share, I have just
Oh,
prepared a
I do that. You share.
a set of files, so we can do a image. Yes.
Yeah, I stop. Screen sharing. I want to stop it. Stop share. There you are. Okay.
Now we can do
And Michael, thank you. It was fun to see that.
Yeah.
what no one has done before.
Visual
And I mean-
Visual Studio can run in the browser too, or Visual Studio Code.
Okay, we go org-h, we go image.
I tried to open a file with Visual Studio on the browser, on the web server, but obviously Visual Studio Code doesn't accept WebDAV. So on my server is not really presenting it right now. It can get.
You get the editor that comes with VS Code as just a JavaScript thing.
Oh,
Because
okay.
it's, all right, we have an image, we have a palette, which may not be in the right format. I haven't checked.
Yeah.
So if you want to display an actual image of a palette, as was asked in the question at the beginning, we just set you to 255 rdlong 0 at palette. We have loaded the palette, and now we have to every line instantiate the thing. Dfast. In this case, we might want to do this, but we don't really have to, and we just go image. So now we initialize the FIFO for our image, and now we can just comment all this garbage out. And what we really want to do now is this is now slightly tricky. We have to do lat, I think, 4x8. No. This is really the tricky part, because you have to figure out what the thing is called. So you go to the documentation and look at what it's called. Except that, of course, it's a different window. We have to actually say that. We have to say x rf long 8x 4x8 lat. There we go. That's what it's called. I think. Yeah, pixels viz, and with a bit of luck, it will display as an image if we find or oh, I've mistyped the name of the file, classic mistake. And image.
Nice.
As you can see, VGA driver is extremely trivial.
With all the data formatted in the right format. Very cool. Very cool.
And just because, look at this IRB line down here. This is what I had to do to get the palette that came out of GIMP to turn into palette data that the P2 can use. We just take the file that came out of it, we take the bytes, we take each slice of 3, we convert that into 0 BGR, then we flatten, then we pack, and then we bin write it.
Yeah, that's an effort. Very
Image. The actual plushie.
Nice. Yeah.
The image. Unbelievable. Things are happening here that are so advanced. I don't even know what we're doing. Extremely advanced technology that can display images. If I could trim some of the white space, I can get it. Actually, let's stop sharing as well, because allegedly some people on the YouTube video can't see the video if they if the thing is going.
Yeah, it's up to I think Chip's screen organization is being recorded.
I mean, if I X out the commented out
Is
stuff,
it? I spread it across 3 monitors.
no, I think the recording happens in the cloud magic.
Well, we'll see.
Anyways, image.
It's a simple one-page
Plushies.
driver.
Image. Yeah, it's less than 100 lines of code right now. If you discount all the commented out stuff for like the color bars, it just displays an image. Unbelievable. And in fact, you could probably make it higher resolution if you wanted to. There's nothing in here that's specific to 640 by 480. At the top, you have the constants that you can change. You'd have to change the NCO value somewhere, maybe.
Very nice. Good demonstration, Ada.
Yes.
So I have now demonstrated that writing video code is trivial.
I have to say though, that's completely based on your experience with it.
Yeah, but basically,
I have to go back and look up everything.
Well, yeah, I did cheat a little bit by copying from another file the CMOD settings, but other than that, and if I had it in the thing, you know, the thing,
your document, yeah,
then it would be, and everything would be perfect, and the world would not have war and death anymore.
No, but
whole issue.
Stephen, Stephen, that would be really nice if you could integrate that documentation somehow, because
also this is the same funny image
documentation we have, you know.
What is this?
Yeah, there's Propeller 2 docs. It's the best documentation we have at all. I mean,
and it's getting
and if you can kind of combine that somehow with your extension.
Yeah, we already talked about it. In the ideal, I'd be scraping this website for the data versus having the data hard coded in my extension.
Yeah.
But initially, it'll just be links to this website.
Yeah.
So anyways, you'll notice this is the same Remu plushie image, just
Yes.
because I only have one funny image that I repeat and laugh about every day.
Okay, we like it.
Anyways, yeah, the color space converter, it doesn't say anything on the color space converter other than make color go blur.
Yeah, we could use more. We could use more narrative there. But that's Ada, you have to know you're at least matching the standard of all the documentation so far.
Yeah, I think the official documentation says nothing on this, and except for like the chip document. The chip document has everything.
Yep. This will all get better over time, and then it's just going to be fun. Going to be a lot of fun.
Yes, exactly. I mean, anyone is free to contribute here if you have like a really fun idea.
Right.
Like if you want, or just if you look at the pin graphs down here, these are not the pin graphs, the bit
Yeah, these are
permutation graphs.
Yeah.
These are the magnum opus of everything.
Excellent. Yeah.
Chip suggested that they be animated, and now they are.
Thank you, Chip and Ada.
Even if you go on these arrows, they also animate.
Yeah. It's
Um,
that explains it so well.
Maybe
Yeah.
it should bold out the direction which it's going as well, but let's not mess with it right now. It took a long time to get right.
It's working right now. Please.
If you go into the source code for this, that was the thing that Stephen was asking about the organization stuff.
Mhm.
Do I have the source code open? Of course not. I have to recycle another instance of VS Codium. Mild problem that I have with this Kubuntu install is if you have a lot of windows open, there is not a sensible way to manage them. It will just scroll the thumbnails at some point. And the window list, the text list that you can open up, you can have it open. It takes like a second to appear every time for some strange reason. Not a second, but annoyingly long. So I guess I have to use less windows now, which is good in terms of not exploding the computer. Anyways, then again, I don't usually have more than like 5 VS Code windows open because that eventually crashes anyways. If you have that many, you know. Anyways, where's the share screen button for this? I need to share it. I need to share the experience. I need to share the pain.
Thanks.
Anyways, now we're in the source code for the website.
Right.
And what we want is opdata p2.rb in the plugin directory. And as you can see, this is where the opcode data gets passed from the opcode table. Yes. And also the smart nodes, which aren't passed from anything, it just puts them out here.
Nice.
But there's a lot of interesting pathing going on here. And this, I think, sets all the flags correctly for all the instructions. It would probably have been faster if I just did a table manually, but no. Anyways, it all puts this into a P2 instructions array.
Nice.
Yeah, I think it's an array. So if you want to have all the information about all the instructions, as well as the description from Chip's opcode table, don't forget about that. And the short descriptions that I wrote, don't forget about those either. You can just take whatever comes out of this. You could probably just copy this plugin out into a standalone file and have it dump out a JSON file with all this in it. In fact, I could just make it dump out a JSON file onto the web server right now. But where? Okay, this is tab.each.
I think one of the things I was thinking, Ida, was if we
Oops.
had a central URL that behind the URL, I could come up with a specification for the URL, and then you would pick it up behind the scenes and parse and provide navigation and response.
That could be done, but that wouldn't work if you don't have JavaScript in your browser.
No, I wouldn't be. I'd be just hitting your endpoint from the extension.
Well, basically, this is a static site. It does not have any server that it's running. It's just HTML files at the end of the day.
Oh, okay. Makes sense.
And I can add JavaScript into the HTML files, but
Yeah.
I prefer to have it all work without
So then,
JavaScript
yeah,
because,
okay. So then what you'd want to do is you and I would talk, and then you emit a single or a couple of JSON files, and I'll just pick them up from your server and use that.
yeah, I will do this right now. If I could look up the documentation for the JSON module.
Because what I want to do is read the JSON, generate a URL, and then put the
warning
link.
the format
to
for the
your
JSON might change at any point for no reason because I'm a mess.
Exactly. So
JSON,
we'll have to document something that we can share.
JSON.
I really would like to make it stable enough that your changes then don't.
JSON file write out slash. First, we have to make a directory. I think. How do we do that? How do we create a directory again? I'm tired. Something mkdir.
There you go.
Okay, cool. Local output path. What the fuck is local output path? I don't care. I've written all this myself, and I don't even remember how to make it work. Out data file write out data p2 install and p2 instruction. Maybe it's called p2 instructions.json. Let's not make it too complicated. Maybe just JSON dot fast generate. What?
Instructions CT instead of ST. Second case.
Yeah, that's a typo. JSON's fast generate, and we want to put it in. We want to fast generate this thing. Cool. And let's see if it actually does anything when we do it. Readme MD. What's the magic words that make it go? That was the magic words that make it go. And that's the magic words that cause it to host a file server. And oh no, you now know my local IP address. What will I do?
Yeah, really.
Actually, you don't know my local IP address.
I was going to say we wouldn't have guessed it was 127.0.
Okay, yeah. You can now DDoS me.
We can get to it.
Anyways, okay, we have generated. It has not destroyed the site, and
Good.
so we can look into. Actually, we can just look at it in VS Code, what it looks like. Awful.
But parsable, very parsable.
Is this possible or is this awful? I don't know. No, I don't think this is possible because this actually dumped out the inspect data for each struct.
That's not what you want.
For each struct. Why does it do that? I hate you.
Thank you.
Where's okay? This is a struct. Why can you not dump a fucking struct into?
Welcome to me every day. This is the stuff I'm dealing with behind this code every day.
Where's my JSON? Yes, we have maybe dev to JSON and to H dot to JSON. Is this anything? Am I still alive? To JSON, wrong number of arguments. What? Given 1, expected 0. What argument? I did not give an argument. Stop. No. I did not give you an argument, baby. No, it's giving a to JSON argument to my thing. Now we're getting closer. Okay, it has done something. Well, this looks more like it. Can we actually, if I went into this with the browser, it might actually
Something. It's looking much more regular now.
yeah. If I open this in browser view source, I can probably
Right.
actually no, I can't, because
JSON pretty printer.
we have formatting for JSON in
You should, yeah.
format document. Unbelievable.
Oh,
This looks like this almost looks like a real
that
thing.
well, sure. What's it-
And now the problem is that this is a giant array
Yeah, no big deal.
instead of a hash, which may not be
Yeah, but the
quite as
translation
nice.
from one to the other is trivial, so.
Yeah, it just takes a bit of time, but it's fine.
But it's a one-time thing. It's not every day, every time, so.
Okay, now we do the important thing, which is checking it in and seeing if it explodes on the server. At instruction data JSON. Commit and push. Let us see if it eventually crashes the server. Well, I don't say let us see, because you can't see the sequence, because
Right.
it will happen in my GitHub where it will tell me, oh no, your pipeline exploded
You hurt yourself.
because of whatever random configuration mismatch with the server that I have. Maybe it doesn't have a new enough Ruby to use the ... thing.
Mhm.
Maybe it's because it's on like old Ubuntu image, the server. These sorts of incredibly cool and not at all stupid problems. Oh, it's successful.
Yay.
Now let's
You
let
know,
us see.
Chip, that's the reason why I'm talking about self-hosting. That stuff I just showed you here was over 10 years in some box in some corner of my office until I stumbled over them again.
Yep, we now have we have successfully launched a new feature on our thing. It will be the greatest thing as that has ever existed.
Mhm.
Unbelievable. Go download the thing. It is
Better than sliced bread. Yeah.
Nice.
many funny instructions that are documented here. There's a mild thing that you have to be aware of with things like the call and jump instructions. Like you have called the S, and we have
Different
never
formats.
called you've called the A. These have different IDs, and in this case, the ID does not match the name.
Right.
And we have this extra thing to discriminate the name when showing it. So if you're on the website, you can actually
Right.
see that in action. We also have a number of other things here. We have search prefer. What does search prefer do? I don't remember what search prefer does, but it probably does whatever, something that's expectable from that name. Args are preg and address. Now this is useful. Preg means a register that starts with the name with the letter P. So PA, PB, pointer A, pointer B,
Right, right.
and it takes an address. That's useful. Flags, it doesn't have any, so it says none.
Doesn't affect any flags.
It cannot affect any flags.
Right.
Category is branch. Enc text is E11100WWR. Alias, it doesn't have an alias. Time cog is 4 cycles. Time hub is 13 to 20. Shield is false. It's not an IRQ shield. Rec WR per W. CVAL and CVAL are -- because there is no C or no Z. OPC main, I don't know what OPC main does. I don't know what OPCS does. I forget what these things mean. Short desk is the short description that I wrote. And setQ says if it has setQ abilities. So this has a short desk set load address, which is quite useful. And let's find one that has setQ set to anything that isn't null. What would be an instruction that can take a setQ? Adilong maybe. And that has setQ to now I remember what OPC main and OPCS do. OPC main is this here for all the non-weird cases. The actual opcode. And OPCS is the sub opcode for all the D-only instructions. Now I remember. I forgot, but I have remembered. And this also is the possible flags once again. Either none, which is a magic value. Write carry, write 0, write carry, and 0. And many similar strange datums. Once again, the very cool 9 to 27 cycles that it takes in hub exec mode. Why does it take 9 cycles as the minimum anyways? That's strange.
It's 8 or maybe +7, and then 2 probably for the pipeline.
Yeah, but why does it
And
take?
there might be one obligatory wait cycle.
Yeah, but why does it take 9 cycles as the baseline?
8, is there some 8 cogs?
For what instruction?
For Adilong.
For what?
Adilong. Just the
Read
normal one.
long? Oh,
Yeah,
RD
yeah.
long, read long.
Long.
Because, okay, it has to, let's see, it uses, does that use the FIFO? No, it doesn't. But it has to wait, make the request, and then the hub is out there reading, writing memory. And then it filters back through like a couple stages. There's maybe 1 or 2 clocks it takes to do the read. And then it has to come back through a bunch of muxes that are clocked with the data to the cog that needs them.
Because this is just about like the biggest bottleneck in everything.
I didn't know it
this-
took that long. Let's see. Let me look at let me look here. I think it takes like 5 cycles to get the read command out to the appropriate RAM, and then it takes like, maybe it takes 4 cycles and it takes 5 cycles to get the data back. And 9, hold on guys, I got a call I gotta take. I'll be back in a sec.
Well, anyways, anyone needs to see like a shield instruction just because we're funny? Look, there's a shield instruction. It's get exec. This has a sub OPC. Amazing. Also, if you want to see how these values actually turn into tables, that's in, I think it's under template, P2 install info. There we go. That's just the template that turns it into a table. Very cool ERB template.
Yeah, pretty simple.
I have awful templates somewhere, but this is not it. What's actually awful is the way that these templates really interact with the markdown main text, because that was clearly not something that was ever properly designed. I just sort of wrenched it together. But most of the time it works. Interestingly, there's a bunch of plugins that aren't on this website. Why are they not on this website? The answer is because, well, they're on the other website that I should be building, but I don't know. I don't think it has enough content yet, really. Need to put more content into it. And then I can publish.
Ada, are you planning on doing the spin instructions, or is this all PASM?
This is all PASM. In the other page, no, it is not a spin instruction site. It's just a normal website where I like want to put my stuff.
Okay.
But you could make one. It is the reason I didn't do it is because I want more help with it, and people aren't really helping that much with this one. So you know, this one isn't really done yet.
We'll get there.
We get there.
As soon as I
Again,
figure out what I need, then I can start helping.
Exactly. You can just put stuff in here. Most of the stuff is just in page. This is where all the magic happens. You just type stuff into this file, and it will magically appear on your screen. And by magically, I mean you have to run bundler exec ruby sidegain RB.
Right.
And have some version of Ruby installed. By some version, I mean it probably needs 2.7, maybe. Maybe just install 3.2. Just install 3.2. If you have 3.2, you can use the magic write it command. Look at it. I run this normally. It takes 1.7 seconds, 1.8 seconds, 1.7 seconds. If I add the -- write it command, it takes 2 seconds.
Geez, what'd that do?
That turns on the just-in-time compiler
No.
for Ruby. And it actually makes it slower. Amazing feature. That is not at all stupid. Well, there's some programs where it does make it, but at least it doesn't make it worse. And there's some programs where it makes it like almost maybe twice as fast. Clearly, this is the winner. Funnily enough, the company that actually built the JIT compiler for the Ruby interpreter apparently got saved exactly 10% of server load with this. So either they're wasting their money, or they have so much servers that paying people to implement JIT compilers into general purpose languages to make their silly Rails app faster is somehow worth it. To make the silly Rails app 10% faster.
Ada, I looked at that. It's 9 to 16 clocks. The 9 to 26 is for like a possible.
Yeah, it's for
16
FIFO.
clock.
No, it's for the FIFO collision if you're in hub exec mode.
Oh, is that it? Let's see here.
Yeah, if you go back into the
Oh yeah, here we go. You're right. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I can't even figure out what would happen. I just ran a bunch of tests where I would introduce all kinds of random.
I mean, then
like
it takes longer. I
delays.
don't think it actually hits that 27 very often.
Yeah, it was a really extreme case. It might have.
But I was really concerned with the baseline of the 9, because even if you copy a line, it still takes 9 cycles, which is kind of a lot. Like you could do 4.5 other instructions in that space. Where you can read like one shitty byte of the memory.
Right.
I think you could probably use use the FIFO to sort of prefetch it. I haven't really looked into how long the FIFO really needs to do the delayless reload. Because in some cases, I think it's possible maybe that you can only spend 4 cycles on a read, which is maybe better in some cases, but you have to know the address in advance. Would have to.
I had to add a lot of flip-flop layers, and because when you're dealing with the memory, you've got long wire lengths that go all over the place because it's shared among everybody. So
yeah,
and
lots
those
of memory.
memories are around the perimeter of the chip. So there needed to be a lot of like registers, at certain junctures, just so that we could get the signal across the wire by the next clock cycle into the flop, and then from that flop it would go through some logic into another flop, and then eventually it gets into the cog. But it was a long process. Otherwise it was like a timing problem on the silicon.
I guess if there's ever a different a lower process one, probably it would be faster.
Yeah.
And then all your programs break because somehow you manage to make it rely on that on some sort of race condition that now doesn't work because all the reads are 1 cycle faster or something.
Don't worry about that. Chip will mess up the complete instruction set again.
Yeah, probably. I mean, if you wanted to wrench a new feature into like the smart pins, I don't think there's any possible value that's not used. Which may be an issue. For the instructions, there's 2 unused full instruction slots, and there's a bunch of D-only slots, and also you could probably reclaim a couple pointless slots that just knobs. Like you can encode a compare without any flag write, which does nothing, just a knob. If you made the assembler explode on that, which is probably a good idea anyways, so you don't forget to write the thing. Then you could use that encoding for another instruction that doesn't use flags. So like instruction-wise, there's actually a couple of free slots in there.
Yeah.
That could. And of course, you can add set queue parameters to instructions that didn't have them before. Anyways, what were we doing? We have done everything. We've done video. We have done USB. We've done whatever this is. Clearly, we have ascended. And now we don't need anything anymore. There's probably a bunch of garbage in this folder here as well. How do I look at it? favicon.ico, my favorite. Tiny fav icon.
Tiny what icon?
Fav icon. It's the favicon.ico, which every website has, because
Favorite icon, favicon. It's the page icon shown when you hit the top of the site.
yes, what you have in your like tab bar, whatever. It's the icon.
Yes.
Interestingly, this is a Windows resource ICO file, which is kind of
Right.
odd. It's not like a PNG or something. Actually, I don't know what goes on in these ICO files. Do they have anything complicated, or is it just, okay, this is the icon?
Oh, no.
Who knows? Can I extract an ICO from a random executable and use it as my fav icon? Probably.
Depends on the executable shape. Depends on the packaging shape of the executable. Sometimes the resources, sometimes they're not.
Well, if
And
there's no
Max,
resource, then there's no icon.
Right. Well, I'm saying sometimes they're called
Well,
out
you
as-
can set the icon programmatically, which is what you do in like a Java program where you don't even have an exe, but
right.
then the icon has to be stored somewhere else. But not as an icon necessarily. It can be a PNG or something. I think Java API takes a buffered image. I don't know. I have been there. I have done that, and I don't remember garbage like that. It's does it take a buffered thing, or does it take a we can actually check it because I have a Java project in a VS Code window that is open. Icon. Mainframe set icon image arrays as list image IO read get class get resource as stream icon PNG image IO read get class get resource as stream icon 32.png. It sure is Java. It sure is Java. Maybe it doesn't even need to be a buffered image. Maybe it can just be a normal image. Oh yeah, indeed, it is Java AVT Windows set icon images list question mark extends image icons. Cool. I like how there's a difference between list of image and list of question mark extends image. And I don't even remember what the difference is. No, really, what is the difference? I don't remember. Oh no. I have forgotten the difference.
It depends on what Windows thinks is an image.
No, in Java here, there's a difference between making a list of images and a list
Yeah.
of question mark extends images. You can store images in both, any sort of image class, anything that extends image, but I'm not entirely sure what the difference means in this case.
In C#, they now use that question mark for nullable types. That's also nice.
Oh yeah, that's a
confusing thing. Date time question mark.
yeah, and it's not confusing. Maybe there's a date and time, maybe there's none.
Yeah, maybe
we don't know.
know.
Whole nullable types, nice thing. I wish I had them. Actually, I should try some more language, right?
I forgot to ask Eric that, but maybe you know that, Ada. Eric told somewhere in the last meeting that Blackspin basically supports date and time out of the system counter.
Yes, there's some
You can basically
cool
set
bloat.
you basically can set date and time at one point at startup at your program or whatever, and then you can just retrieve them.
Yes, there's some cool bloatware that does this. That's in the standard library. If you set the date and time, it will in fact sort of keep track of it. Maybe sometimes. I
Because
think if you change the system clock around, it might
no,
stop
yeah, okay,
working.
yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, but if you do it after setting your clock, it should work. No, I find that interesting because the version of Kai's fat driver I'm using in my project here is the version which is supporting RTC clocks. So
Actually, if you use the built-in file system in FlexBin, it will just use the date and time from the thing, unless you specifically disable it to save on space or something.
okay,
By default, it will actually.
better.
So
That's
so if
even
you
better,
create
yeah.
files with the file system, they will have vaguely randomized dates around its epoch where it starts out. Very strange.
Yeah, but my thing is, I talked about that I want to do that web server on the P2 with Terry's board. I have 2 of Terry's boards here, but my driver is still not doing what it is supposed to do.
Well, if you can
But
get
the rest is basically running, but that thing gets its time and date via an MTP question. I mean, the web server can kind of call for the time.
yeah,
and
it's just network time.
Yeah, and then just set the time in Flex then, you know. So the Spinneret itself had kind of a real-time clock on board to keep the time, and that got kind of.
Well, if you have a real-time clock, you can also use that. You can use anything.
Yeah, but the point is that on the normal P2 we don't have a real-time clock, and having that feature to have the, and on my web server I could then pull the actual time out of the net.
Yeah, you can just. That's pretty smart. You can just pull it from a server, and you've got the time.
Right, exactly. So
And well, I'm not entirely sure if the accuracy of the thing is sufficient.
Yeah, basically it should be. It's 5 to 10 seconds a year. That oscillator thing is that Parallax did choose it because of that precision also. You know, they find a very nice one. It's kind of Chip said it last meeting, 15 seconds a year, something like that. So it's pretty accurate. 0.5 ppm, something like that.
Anyways, this is a very fun SCSS file. Anyone ever use SCSS?
Nope.
It's like CSS, except not stupid because you can nest the rules. Is this not the greatest thing in the universe?
Yes.
I think it is.
I need that.
Well, the fun thing is if you install the if you do the bundler install command for this, it will print a big message that the self compiler that makes this happen is that you should not use it. I like this. I like the phrasing. You should not use it, especially because if you go to the website and look at the one they want you to use, it is also deprecated. I'm not entirely sure what sort of fumes they were smoking, but there's only one SCSS implementation left now, and it's written in Dart and does not integrate into Ruby. Because the original one is just a Ruby library, and it works. And they can say it should not be used as long as they want, but it works. Shit just works, you know.
Yeah, you know, I'm on the other end of the spectrum of computers than you are. I prefer old computers and old software which, I mean, even in my current job.
I mean, I like the old computers.
Even on my current job, the software is based in, I think, in 1994 or something. So that thing runs since almost 30 years or so. And that is the reason why, I mean, look, I took that Spinneret out of a box, plugged it in, and the web server is still working.
Yeah, I mean, this
No,
will still work if you
after 10
if they
years,
don't
and
explode it.
even can compile, even the web worker thing, which is probably not used by anybody now yet, because it wasn't.
Actually, web workers are still used. In fact, they have like special magic web workers that actually can keep working in the background when you close the website. Just do that without any sort of permission form. They just do that. It's called a
Nice.
service worker.
Oh, a
And,
service worker, okay.
and
That sounds
with that, you
dangerous.
can. The main thing that is good for is so you can keep accessing some sort of data while you're offline.
Yeah.
But you can do pretty much everything in the service worker, and no one talks about this. It's kind of.
I found that web worker already kind of funny and
Well, the web worker is basically just a thread.
Yeah. Mm. Yeah, but I mean, it helped me out with OpenSpin, so I could basically print on the screen while compiling. I was pretty proud at that time. And then Parallax stopped building them. Shoot, I forgot to tell Ken, so I have to tell Chip.
Yeah,
You need to tell Ken that he should look in your archives to find some Spinneret chip for you. You should at least have one in your company somewhere. It's a 10-year-old project, but you should at least have one.
I don't know much about it.
Yeah, see, that's the reason. So because that is the reason why you're not fascinated by the idea to run self-contained system. I mean, we have an example now here with my web server. I showed you 10 years self-contained in a box. And even, I mean, basically it even can compile itself. Because it's Spin. OpenSpin is that a Spin compiler made by, I don't remember who made it. But it was a Parallax initiated. The first command line compiler for Spin, which was Parallax initiated. Yeah, so and still works 10 years later. That's what I'm talking about, going to that pump house and fixing that stupid problem that shows up after 10 years. Gosh, what version of FlexSpin I used? And I mean, example, your actually prop tool doesn't program ref-ace anymore.
No more
FlexSpin still accept them for programming. My beloved 3 ref-a 3 on
mine here there's no RFA testing, so if you actually do spin compilation, it might not work.
Actually, it does.
Yeah, it does,
okay,
but there's no guarantee that it will continue to work.
Yeah, Eric told me. But I mean, for the stuff I'm using them, I still, I mean, I just need to parse them and I write it by myself. And
then again, what are the bugs even? I don't remember what the RFA bug was.
It was not that damning.
Actually, I think the main difference is using a pointer argument for the LUT instructions.
The pointer are kind of different. Pointer command and something was with the streamer, I think, also.
Yeah, I mean the hardware stuff is slightly different. I know the USB stuff is all different.
But I mean,
because I've been ripping out the REF-A support from the USB driver.
Yeah, okay.
You wonder how it gets.
Yeah, right. There was a change on the USB at that time. Yeah, I remember.
You wonder how the USB driver gets this small, and the answer is one of the answers is I've ripped out all the REF-A remnants.
Okay. I can live with that.
Which is fair enough, because I don't think it ever worked that well to begin with.
Yeah, and the REF-A has kind of a built-in USB already on board, so I don't need a USB driver on it.
I mean the USB driver in sense of like keyboards. you know, what have been talked about earlier.
Yeah.
Anyways, ich schaue
Yeah,
mal
file system would be nice.
the majesty of the 96
Yeah.
megabyte board, because
Both
it
in
truly
both
is.
in both directions, attaching some drives to a P2 and attaching a P2 to some computer and say, hey, I'm a thumb drive. I mean, we would need both of it, in my opinion.
Yeah, both would be nice. Again, this USB stuff, it is very
yeah, I know.
I do have some. I did want to build like a USB analyzer thing, but I never got around to it. I do have the parts laying around. It's basically just wanted to make a sort of thing I can plug in between and connect my questionable quality logic analyzer to, and then have it sort of sample all the pins. Because in even these cheap logic analyzers, they have 24 megahertz bandwidth, which is enough, you know.
Yeah.
And then you could use a USB decoder on the PC and look at what is actually happening.
Yeah.
Which is not just, well, you vaguely know what's happening on your own driver, but you maybe don't know what's happening if you plug it into a PC, right? And I have this one obnoxious thing here. I've shown it before. It is truly evil and dastardly.
That drum drive, that was the RAM card of
yeah, it's a RAM card. I can
Raymond, yeah.
Yeah, that's Ray's 96 megabyte RAM
cool,
card.
yeah.
Anyways, this is evil controller. It will not work when plugged into P2. It barely even works when you plug it into PC, but that's a different story.
Yeah.
Always causes issues, and I want to know how to actually initialize this so it
yeah, and then kind of having a sniffer in between, you could kind of.
Yeah, that would be nice, but I'm too lazy to actually build the thing. Anyways, 96 megabyte RAM card. Is it not beautiful?
It's beautiful, yeah.
It is far too much memory than you realistically need, but thanks to the magic of very large Neo Geo games, you now have a need for this.
Yeah, I wish that I like that file system which Eric built, you know, I mean, or Eric is using, and I like the ease of switching between them drives, you know.
You mean a RAM file system? What RAM file system?
Yeah, I would like to have a RAM drive for the P2 Edge. And I mean, it shouldn't be that complicated. I'm no stupid.
No, not really. You could probably even use the well, the main problem is that you need to somewhere replace the thing. Actually, I think the simplest actually can do that. Oh god, my brain hurts.
I mean, he is doing in that flash file system. He has that parameter format on first open. So basically, that part is already there. For sure, you have to format the RAM drive before you open the first side.
Yeah, I think the flash driver can easily be modified to just be a RAM driver.
Eric said that too, and I find that idea absolutely fascinating because of the ease of file access and FlexBin. You know, it's so
then
nice.
again, I'm not entirely sure what you would really do with RAM as files, because it's not like I mean, it's faster than the SD card, but not like that much faster.
Load in it should be faster.
Yeah, it's obviously a lot faster, but not in the sort of sense where it's really matters, especially considering that the RAM starts out empty. It's a lot more useful to just load stuff into the RAM as is, and then use the random access ability. But I guess in some cases, having it as files is useful. If you like doing your web server thing,
yeah,
you could just copy all the files into the.
Yeah, I'm thinking about part of, for example, to getting those web server root onto the RAM drive.
Yeah, you can just load stuff onto the RAM drive, and then it goes.
Let it run from there, you know, sort of.
And no SD card slowdown. Just go from the RAM.
And the web server I'm using basically has something like dynamic web pages, so you basically you can build an binary file is a Pasm file with a certain name, and when the server loads that file, he loads that Pasm code into a cork, handles the cork, basically the socket.
Yeah, you can just
And the
generate
cork-
some
and
sort
the-
of
no, and
stuff at
the
runtime.
the cork then runs that request and delivers its own output. So
Yeah, that's what I mean.
I'm-
You can run some simple dynamic stuff in there.
right, like forms and stuff like that.
Call it
It's
Propeller on
working-
Rails
it's working
and sell a
pretty
million
nice.
of them.
And you can basically call simple Pasm programs to do stuff. And they are on the SD card right now. You know, so every time you load them, they kind of get loaded. That's a nice thing on that server, and I hope to do that with a P2, and then somehow getting at least P2 Asm. I just need Pasm code. I don't need Spin compiler. I just need a
No need for
Pasm
spin.
compiler at least. You know that
We don't want to rotate in this land.
No, I would be fine with a running Pasm 2 compiler. That would be enough, and I have to understand Catalina and all that build environment. I haven't looked at it yet, really. Just installed it. But basically there is a way to get Pasm 2 compiler running on a P2. Just have to figure out how it works. And then I'm fine. And I can program dynamic pages on the P2 also. Except that my driver doesn't like to work right now. Well, it's the 6100 has a complete different addressing scheme in that chip than those 5100 version. It's not just that it has 8 sockets instead of 4, which is kind of not that problem. Problem is it also supports IP6. So it has tons of registers for IP version 6 now sprinkled in between the other register space. And
funky registers. Have I
I'm
talked
dying.
have I talked about the greatness that is the register set for the Yamaha FM chips?
Yeah. And suddenly it's kind of separated in different areas, and I have to figure out. It was so easy before, you know.
They're very funny and very
Yeah.
and clearly developed by very smart people, especially the YM2610 OPNB that's used in the Neo Geo.
Yeah.
Because they cut down the number of channels to 4. Now, the reason the chip has 2 ports to begin with is because there's so many registers that for 6 channels, they couldn't fit them all into 1 port. So they split it into 2 groups of 3, but it has technically a 4th slot that's unused in each port. But instead of just doing that, what they did is they just now have 2 ports with 2 channels on each. And some of the other registers are different between the ports. I think one of the ports has the SSG registers, and the other port has like the sampling registers.
very good. They kind of mixed it in between those ports. Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah, and now you just maddened because everything is somewhere maybe you will move lots of control registers everywhere, and
yeah,
of course there's no documentation for this. There's documentation, but this is like a wiki page that someone wrote, possibly half drunk. We have a data sheet for the YM2608, but that's in Japanese and poorly translated.
Yeah.
And
yeah, and I
so
also
the documentation on this is amazing.
I also still hope that Chip will kind of get his flash file system also running on the Edge RAM, because if
on the cool RAM card.
Yeah.
Chip, do you even have a RAM card? You need to get the RAM card.
No, at least you should get an Edge with RAM.
I mean, he probably has one, right? He does have an Edge RAM.
I only have the P2 Edge that has the RAM on it. I don't have any larger RAM card.
Well, if you have the Edge, that's already something.
Yeah,
Get the RAM card, get the RAM card. It's the RAM card. Yours won't be green like this because this is a prototype burn.
Oh, that one is nice. 96 megabyte.
Yes, it's kind of slow because it's 8-bit, and at the higher frequencies you also can't the higher frequencies you can't do it in 2 cycles. You have to do 3 cycles per byte. So it's about only a third of the throughput of the Edge, but it is 3 times the capacity. How can you say no to that?
Hey,
It
I have not looked in a few years since we made that, but there might be higher density memory chips available now.
no, at
Still
least not the compatible ones. At least not last time I checked, which was like
They're not
this month.
like serial and 3.3 volt and
If you check on the AP memory website, you can actually see that they're trialing a die-only version of a 1.8 volt version that has the double capacity.
oh, so
Yes.
it's 16 megabytes.
Exactly.
But it's 1.8 volts, not 3.3.
Exactly. Maybe they will make a 3.3 version. We don't know. It's currently under development. Contact us. And it's only listed in the section for the bare dice. So actually, I can screen share this. Believe it or not. So this is AP Memory's PS RAM and IoT RAM website. And as you can see, where's the one we have right
Wait, there's a
now?
3 volt one. Look, the third one down is 3 volts. Oh, 16 megabits.
Yeah, this is the one
That's
we
the one
have.
we're using. Yeah.
I think it's the free SQN. Maybe it's the free SQR. I don't remember. They're the same anyways. Well, I say they're the same. It's still practically the same.
Boy, look at that. That 1.8 volt part will go 333 megabits per second. Well,
Yeah.
what does that mean? Let's see, megabits.
Well, it says Mbps, but it's actually the
Megabytes.
frequency that it runs at. So it's actually mega nibbles per second.
Okay, gotcha.
Well, our current ones are 133 at SDR, but we of course overclocked them. So with reasonable amounts of overclock applied, it's we getting what are we getting? We're getting 170 out of the ones we have. So I guess the new ones could be overclocked slightly faster. Then again, all the 1.8 ones are 144, and only 3 ones are 133. So you do get 11 megahertz of extra spec speed if you reduce the voltage. It's kind of interesting. Anyways, maybe, I don't know, Chip, you're in the position to contact us. You're like a commercial customer.
Yeah, we probably bought a couple thousand chips from those guys.
Yeah, just contact them. Say, is there a 3 volt 128 megabit chip anywhere, anytime, any soon? It would be
Is
very funny
there,
to have one.
well, why don't you ask them since you're on their site? Let's see.
But I don't know. I'm not the I have bought 0.
Memory.com/products/PSRAM IoT.
You can also just reach it from the like top bar.
Oh, here I'm at the same place you are now. So let's see.
then again, there's also, it says, please send inquiry to us for discussion on density or spec. They specifically say density, so maybe if you ask them nice, they will make you like a 30 million gigabit chip with 8 legs. Maybe if you
Yeah.
ask them, nice. But it will cost you your firstborn child per each chip, so you can only get one with the 4-bit bus, and it's not very fast. So kind of bad deal.
Well, they're mass producing that 1.8 volt, 256 megabit one.
Yeah, down here they have the
Oh, that's the that is the thing that acts like the, what do they call that RAM that we were looking at for a while but didn't use it?
you mean the hyper RAMs?
Yeah,
We did
they
use
have
it
like
as
a
it's
hyper RAM.
like the fake hyper RAM.
Yes.
Yeah, if they make those in pretty big pants, but only 1.8 volts. Well, if you wanted hyper RAM, I think there exists larger ones now. But they of course always have that 8-bit bus. Actually, I think there's I think there was somewhere one that had a 16-bit bus. Let us peruse, but that's probably when 1.8 only. Hyper RAM 16-bit. Oh, mate. Infineon's new Hyper RAM memory chip. Infineon's Hyper RAM 3.0 16-bit. Give it to me. Okay.
And they have,
Come on. What do you have in terms of Hyper RAM? Give me Hyper RAMs. I will go hyper if you don't give me Hyper RAMs. Memories. So many memories. Oh no. Pseudo-static. I like the word pseudo-static. It sounds stupid. Hyperbus XPI. Okay. Hyperbus X16. There it is. Maximum operating voltage 2 volts. Wait. No, I've been bamboozled by scrolling. There is no 16-bit hyper RAM that is not low voltage.
yeah, well, if we could get to 65 nanometers, we could make a part that could toggle a lot faster at lower voltage.
Mhm. What do they have in terms of normal hyper RAMs? Well, let's go operating voltage filter. I want to filter. Can I not filter? Hello. Oh, it's at the side here. Free.
Oh,
I
you know
want
what?
free.
I should stop recording this. I'm going to stop
Yeah.
recording.